Most recently, she was Circle of Honor Achiever in 2 categories, personal sales and personal recruits, all while raising 5 young children. Her proudest accomplishment is promoting from advanced director to national executive director in just 1 year. Cammie's organizational sales grew from 3.6 million last year to 7.8 million as of September 1st. So let's give a warm welcome to Cammie Cruz. And oh, I see her there. Okay, good. All right. Go ahead, Cammie.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So when I think about skill, for me, this is about knowing what works best to inspire and train my team for growth. How do I create vision and culture? What systems do I need to implement? How do I sustain growth? And so important and fun, how do I recognize my team for their successes? To start, I'd like to share what happened in my business when I had not developed the skills I needed to succeed. When I began my business in 2006, I was also working as a teacher, and I love birds. I wanted a way to bring in some extra income and have something fun to do prior to having kids, since my husband traveled a lot. We also knew that when we had a family, we wanted me to be able to stay at home. I had heard of people being able to do that with a direct selling business. So fast forward 14 years, add 5 kids, 5 birds, 3 cats, and a very long distance move, I can say this business has truly changed my family's life. From all the amazing new friends I've made, being able to help others achieve their dreams and accomplish things they never would have believed possible, the flexible work schedule to fit alongside raising my kiddos, and now dealing with virtual learning, a kitchen full of the most incredible products one could ever want, all earned for free, of course. Amazing vacays every single year to unreal destinations. My hubby's favorite part, by the way, and totally what sold him on Pampered Chef. And so much more. I simply cannot imagine my life without Pampered Chef. This business hasn't always been a straight shot to the top, though, as most may think. There have been some pretty big struggles along the way. My biggest struggle was about 6 years ago. My team had finally promoted to an executive team. We had worked so hard for this. But before having my twins, sadly, I lost the title. This was really hard for me because I had never, ever in my Pampered Chef history lost a title before. How about you? Has anyone ever been discouraged about going the wrong way down the career ladder, right? What happened is that one by one, my director team had fallen apart. I was trying so hard to maintain our title with only my bare bones of who helped us promote. But as we always tell our new leaders, the people who help you promote will not be the ones who keep you there. Lives and priorities change, and not everyone remains a director forever. Maybe some of you have been here before. I was so devastated and truly felt like I failed my team. I knew it wasn't only my doing, but it felt like such a personal hit to me. Looking back now, I know that I didn't have the skill I needed to handle the growth that we were experiencing. I didn't know how to support my directors, and I didn't realize what I needed to do to sustain this kind of fast-paced growth. Mostly, I didn't understand the idea of having overage. So fast forward several years later, after our family grew from 5 to 7, and I got through the first incredibly challenging few years of having 5 kids, 6 and under. What a whirlwind that was. Looking back, it's totally a blur, and I don't remember that. But anyway, I was finally able and ready to jump back in and focus on helping others again instead of merely trying to keep my own business alive. There were 4 key points that helped us, oh, my screen went away, one second, that helped us establish our momentum and regain our title and fly past senior executive director to national executive director. I feel so humbled and honored to have been able to promote over 150 incredible leaders in our organization in the past 18 months, of which 32 are my first generation leaders. So first, we work to develop an amazing culture in our organization. Second, I had to find and implement the right systems for our success. Third, I had to tweak those systems to sustain growth and create duplication. And finally, I had to focus on the best ways to recognize my team. For our first step, we worked hard to create an amazing team culture, one that is so positive, amazingly supportive, one where people just want to be. Many consultants sadly have told me before that they've been part of other companies that have not experienced this level of support from team members. Our team is so welcoming and helpful to each other, and I love that about them. I always try my hardest to provide and model positivity, always, even in the toughest of times. Some of you, as of recently, may also know something about this, right? So my goal is that it will wear off on the team, even if just a little bit at a time. I'm so incredibly blessed to have such a strong team of amazing, caring, helpful leaders. We're truly like a family and want the same culture for our entire organization. So you want to hear about my Facebook police squad? It's pretty funny. So, well, good, because you don't have a choice. So some of my leaders are on Facebook, on our Facebook team page, much more than I am, and they help me with ensuring positivity is always happening. So I call these few leaders the Facebook police. They will alert me if there's not so good post that goes up that I need to jump right on. This is the gift that they send to alert me. Isn't it hilarious? So I get that and I'm like, uh-oh. So I know I need to immediately jump on over to the team page and deal with it. And sometimes it also helps to have your upline jump on too and give them a little come to Jesus talk. Thank you, Tracy Barron.
Oh my gosh, those white cowboy boots are to die for. So, Cami, it sounds like you have really established just such a strong culture on your team. So, what's the next thing you did that really turned things around to help you create that growth?
Well, Kathy, I knew it came down to finding systems that would work so I could provide more consistent training for my entire organization and leaders. And I wanted them to be simple yet effective because y'all are crazy busy too. I know that. And we just don't have time for nonsense or systems that don't work. So I implemented 3 programs for my organization, which really made all the difference. First, our new consultant training call. And I know I'm preaching to the choir. This is not new to any of you guys. One thing I'm passionate about is providing a new consultant training call to our newly signed team members as soon as they join. So our goal is to get them trained within the first 24 to 72 hours. On Zoom, we cover mainly what's in DASH for the Fast Track to Success training program. For example, we go over their why, the new consultant rewards, what Fast Track to Director is all about, the incredible rewards that go along with it, and that it truly is possible. We also cover virtual party know-hows, going for no, and we end with a go for no booking challenge to help them get their first block party set up to start in the very next few days. Initially, I did this new consultant training call for my team and our leaders for quite a while during those heavy promotion months. I was kind of a Nazi about that. With the recruits joining in, of course, and the call to follow along with the script to both show their support and learn at the same time. Fast forward to now, all my leaders hold their own training unless they're brand new, and whether they choose to use my outline or adapt it to make it their own is totally up to them. But I feel teaching them and modeling that call for them has really developed them into stronger leaders and trainers. Next, I implemented a 4-week training program like I'm sure many of you currently run. So again, preaching to the choir. We call ours Cruise into Success. It was originally named this as a play on the cruises we were earning and my last name. This is all about business basics, and we invite new consultants right away, as well as anyone who wants more out of their business. In this program, we really see the cream rise to the top. It's such a great indicator, and we typically know who our future leaders will be by the end of that month. We focus on building a strong show schedule, which is their main goal through this course. And we also love to see them start recruiting by the end. I want to pause and give a huge shout out to National Executive Director Kristen Waringa, who is one of my most admired peers in this business and is the one who encouraged me to try a shorter 4-week program to make it work better for us. since I had just never had much experience and success with the longer programs. And since she has experienced such amazing growth in her business, I knew I had to give it a shot. On these 4 calls that run the duration of the month, I share the leader role with my amazing Senior Executive Director, Katie Rupert. Hi, Katie. We also have other leaders help as guest trainers on the call, so they gain invaluable teaching experience. As I mentioned, the goal of our Cruise into Success program is that each member grows a strong, more confident business with bookings and recruits to ideally transition into part 2, which is our 4-call series, which we call our Secret Promoting to Director Club. This helps them fast track quickly by doing these 2 programs back to back, which is an area I was terrible at before. Now that we have this regular training system, we have a really, really good success rate with fast tracking directors. Next, we implemented our 3rd system, which we call, oh, that is the same thing. So it's our Secret Promoting to Director Club, which is also a Kristen Waringa idea. And this is that small group that meets on Zoom once a week for 4 weeks. We run them immediately following our Cruise into Success call. On these calls, we talk about all the things that will help them promote to director in that very same month. And we have a lot of success with this group each month. We discuss booking a strong team show schedule, having at least 20 team shows for that month. When we set this goal, we encourage them personally to have at least 12 to 16 parties. To be invited into this exclusive group, they need a very, very strong show schedule that month and at least 2 recruits on their team. At the beginning of the month, the team members who will make up this group each get a personal invite call from either Katie or myself. It's a really big deal to get invited to this group, I have to say. And I love, love, love making these calls at the beginning of the month because I truly get to connect with each one of them and help paint the picture that this program could really help them promote to director by the end of the month. Most don't have any idea that they could actually promote that same month. And I love instilling that belief in them and getting them super pumped. Another thing I love about this group is the messenger chat that we utilize because they support one another so much and develop those close bonds. I'm very intentional about what I name the group chat to help instill that belief in them. So for like this month, it's called Directors Who Will Be Promoting in September. So they see that every time they see that group chat come up. Something fun that we do is have them post their red dress GIF in the group Facebook chat as soon as their promotion is final. So the end of the month gets very exciting in the chat as we celebrate everyone's promotions as they keep coming in. It just means so much to them. Now, as I mentioned, they feel really special when they get to, there's a GIF, yep. They get to feel pretty special when they get to be part of the Secret Promoting to Director group. You can see this in one of these messages below. In the message on the left, Danielle says, "Thank you so much for never giving up on me. You rock. I'll give it my all today." The second message is from Catherine, who says, "It feels like a dream. I remember you calling me in late June. I'd only been signed up since May 5th, and we were talking about how I should join the Promoting to Director group in July. I said, I want to grow a team and promote and become a director. 90 days in, and I'm a director." Another thing we do in this group is show them how to make their Pampered Chef family tree, and they love adding recruits to it and sharing it in the group chat. Their name is in the middle, and they add the recruits as they go. They come in all different forms, from handwritten, like my Team Awesome Bobs, that was my example, to the super fancy one on Canva.
I love it. And you know what I love most is I love, Cammie, how those 3 training programs really flow and they just build on each other. And I especially love that they post their red dress GIF. That's too fun. So how did your team sustain all this growth? I'm sure many of our leaders are particularly interested in this question, especially considering the growth that we have all experienced in the last few months.
Well, that's a great question, Kathy. In order to sustain growth, I found I needed to create more duplication in the leaders in my organization. And if you know me, you know I love a good system. So here are a few of the things we have implemented, which I'm sure many of you do already. Opportunity events, We hold these monthly and invite all of our leads to see if Pampered Chef might be a good fit for them. It also helps train our consultants to be stronger recruiters and to have a recruiting mindset, not be afraid of recruiting. Team-wide monthly leadership calls with my director team. So this call trains my leaders and helps keep our director culture strong. Katie and I also partnered together to provide an informal director coffee call, Zoom, twice a month for our directors to simply share ideas and grow together. There's no agenda. Our team banner. I really encourage each director to have their own team banner with their goals for their team on it. I start by showing them mine. So when they're green, they get an anchor, and I list our sales, recruiting, promoting leaders goal for the month. It's kind of crazy, I know, but on their own banners, I encourage my directors to have the faces of their director team on the banner as well. And if they don't have many faces because they're a brand new director, I encourage them to have kind of a holding cell on the side of the banner with the pictures of their future directors or directors in training to recognize those who've promoted to team leader and are working towards director. We do not believe in lonely banners. Zoom calls. I encourage them as even brand new leaders to start doing regular Zoom calls with their own teams once a month so it's more personal and helps build and create their own team culture. Even if it's just a little bit of training with their teams, then a Q&A at the end. Director chat groups. These groups are for support and reminders, announcements, questions they have for each other, anyone who needs a quick answer. And they really utilize those and they like that place to go to. So I have 3 chat groups, one for my first gen leaders, one for all my leaders, and one for my top of the top, my upper level leaders. Also our leader Facebook page. And on this page, we recognize leaders, celebrate the directors who are green by 5 and 15 teams. We hold special challenges and share great ideas that are working for our teams. These leader coaching calls is another thing I do. I hold these one-on-one calls. They're about 20 to 30 minutes with my more established first generation leaders every 6 to 8 weeks for those who choose. For my brand new directors, I hold them every month until they're pretty well established, these one-on-one calls. And this is the coaching form I use. I got it from Kathy. It's awesome. And I'll also post it on the executive director Facebook page. There's the example. So they fill that out to me and they send it to me the night before their call. So I know what direction to go with the call and what we want to spend our time on. Our new director workshop, I call this I'm a new director, now what? Training. And I teach it to our new promotes shortly after they promote, within about a week or 2 of their promotion. It's a one-time Zoom call with the club who promoted together from that secret promoting to director group. I have found this call keeps new directors from feeling so lost and overwhelmed and helps answer many of their questions. Some of the important director FAQs that I cover are what's expected of them as far as trainings go each month with the company, and what stats do they need to focus on? What's next for them? Because so many of them are excited to keep striving for more, and I encourage them to keep their foot on the gas pedal. We discuss implementing a monthly team Zoom, creating their banner and chat, and tracking their team show schedules each month with the help of the quick tip each month to show support at the beginning of the month rather than only reaching out at the end. And I have them use that team calendar to keep their team shows on. We discuss the 3 core cultures, ideas of how to recognize their teams, like recognizing what you want repeated. For example, recognition like 500 by 15, making a top sellers graphic, shout outs on their team walls, bragging on someone when they've lined up a recruit call, etc. I also cover the RSVP model, and I share my screen and walk them through the main reports I use each month, like the basic ones that they need to know, because that can be a very overwhelming part since there's so much info available to them now. We also talk about how to divide their teams into A's, B's, and C's to help them identify their rockstar team members. And we talk about how important it is to get 5 new team members to essentially re-promote themselves in the next 2 months, because the 5 that got them to director are not going to be the ones that keep them there. We especially focus on the first 3 leadership principles. Take action today, number 1. Develop that clear vision, set measurable goals, and take action now. Dreams are achieved one day at a time. Number 2, the principle of lead by example. Your leadership sets the pace for those around you. Your actions and attitudes speak louder than your words. We talk about this one a lot and how important it is to keep that strong personal show schedule. I really encourage them to aim for at least $3,000 a month as a personal sales goal, because if they're not focused on that, maintaining their director title is going to be a lot more difficult than it needs to be. And then principle 3, own your story. Take ownership for the outcome of your success story. You inspire those around you to own their actions and thoughts. One thing that's been working amazing for our team's culture and work ethic since we started them weekly back in March when COVID hit is holding a weekly themed booking blitz. Thank you to Becky Ishii for this fantastic idea. So it's another example of just how generous Pampered Chef leaders are in sharing what's working for them. I love this weekly booking blitz, largely because we get to highlight a different leader each week and give them the spotlight to share and teach what they want. They share for 15 minutes, and it's so amazing. Have I said how much I love these blitzes? So our presenting leader picks the theme and the topic to train on. Each week, we add anywhere from 25 to 50 new bookings from our time together in that short hour. The trainer teaches her little segment, his or her segment for the first 15 minutes. Then we turn off our cameras and we mute and we work individually for the next 45 minutes, sending messages. Then we join back to report our stats at the end. I really like to award 3 prizes each week, one for the most yeses, one for the most no's, and one for the best attire for that theme. They are rewarded $5 in Pampered Chef money. Easy to give. We recently had a Mardi Gras theme. It was so fun. We also had a favorite things theme. And actually one of my leaders and her husband did it together. And because he was her favorite thing, the husband gave his perspective on the business. And it was so neat to see how incredibly supportive he is of her. By the way, my absolute favorite blitz we've ever done was the Bring Your Pet to Work blitz. We got to see everybody's cutest pet in their Zoom with them. Boy, was that a tough one to choose the winner. I would love to do that one every single week, actually. This past week, we did, hey, baby, and some of them brought their baby picture to show. It just adds a fun element and gets people looking forward to it and that community. So another thing our team does is create videos for common questions asked by new consultants. So doing this has saved us so much time. As leaders, we can refer new team members to the videos when they have a question. For example, things are like how to do an online return, how to send out a customer newsletter, how to import our template for ScentShare, and most importantly, recently, how to set up parties on the new Facebook. So I think it's important to help my leaders feel more confident. I really try to empower them to train and work with their own teams. I would definitely say the most important thing I do is to lead by example and to stay above the line. Like I said, I try to be positive and encouraging in every Facebook Live and on every call. And I do get people that say, you're always so inspiring and so encouraging. And I just think like, that's my job. I just want to encourage people. So and we have no time, honestly, to be negative. It's just so important for me to consistently strive to be that confident leader for them and set that tone for them. So I try to go live on my Facebook page. I share important information like when a new program's about to start or share great ideas and updates, anything that's on my mind, really.
I love that. I love how you're setting that example. And, I really love how you've created duplication by empowering your leaders to lead. And you took the time to train them on how to work with their teams. You didn't just push them out of the nest. You really modeled the training and the leadership to show them the way, which I think is really critical to helping new leaders to adapt to their new role. So I know you talk a lot about recognition. So tell us why this was such a big part of your success, Cami.
Yeah, so recognition was a key factor to us being able to sustain our growth because you know what they say, people will do more for recognition than they will for money. So I really make a huge deal over our green director teams, as I'm sure you guys do too. And I tag those leaders who are green and I give them their green anchor on the banner. I then ask them to tag their team members who contributed to their team's success and had any sales submitted during that time. I really try to brag on them and their teams for actively working their business. I recognize my leaders for being green by 5 and green by 15 with gift cards. I also have director recognition sales clubs. Thank you, Love Carpenter, for this idea. For having personal sales of 5,000 a month, 10,000 a month, and 15,000 a month. So they get their name on that image, and that's it. There's no reward; it's just that honor. We also do a lot of recognition at our team Zoom trainings. I like to use the monthly meeting planner for these. Why reinvent the wheel, right? My assistant actually does the majority of my recognition for my team. She creates my top 10 sellers graphic and recruiters graphic. She mails my postcards. She does their shout outs on their Facebook walls. She creates my PowerPoint slides for these Zoom trainings. She mails my personal teams 500 by 15 postcards, etc. Now, I run my virtuals and do all the setup and everything. My assistant goes into my parties each Friday. She does the tags for me, for those who haven't ordered yet, which is a huge time saver. So just remember, recognition can be such a huge motivator. In closing, I just want to say how truly amazing Pampered Chef leaders are, and I just love how everyone is so willing to share. I firmly believe you just don't find this anywhere else. I encourage you, do not be afraid to reach out to those who inspire you and ask what's working for them. Then you can mold these ideas to work for you, just as I have been so blessed to be able to do with the help of so many of my peers in the business. Thank you so much for allowing me to share today.
Oh, thank you, Cami. That was awesome. I know people are in their rooms clapping and cheering and standing up. So that was absolutely fantastic. So we just want to, we're going to do some Q&A, but I just want to give you guys a challenge first. And I want you to think about what 2 things, I know Cami went through a big list, so she gave you lots of options, but what are 2 things that you want to implement right away? And I want you to write down those top 2 things that you want to implement that are going to have the biggest impact on your business. And then go ahead and share those in the chat. I think it's so fun to learn from everybody else what your 2 takeaways are. So we do want to open up for questions. Doreen, do we have questions?
Oh, of course we have questions. Of course we have questions. And I'm going to organize them a little in a couple of ways, hopefully to try to make it a little bit easier. But I'm going to first comment. One of the things that jumped out at me, because Cami, we've known each other a long time, is that when she had that setback, she said, I'm never going to let that happen again. And I hear you hearing all the skills that you were determined to learn and the systems that you set up are all really to make sure that you have success and that those team members that you're bringing up do as well, because you didn't want anybody else to have to go through that. So that was great.
Quite the comeback, right?
Yes, quite the comeback, and then beyond.
Amazing.
Just several people asked this just to make sure they get it. It's very specific, but it is, can you explain again your qualifications to get into your secret promoting to director club?
Yes. So it's really important for us that we know that we are going to set them up for success that month. And so when they get that personal call, we have looked at their stats. We have seen that they are a consistent seller. We kind of know what their show schedule is going into that, and that they have at least 2 recruits. That's our main qualifier. 2 recruits already on their team that are active or at least starting to become active, because we want them to be able to run with that and really succeed that very month.
Yeah, thank you, Cami. All right, a couple of other questions, and part of my thinking is it doesn't matter how she answers it, because the principle is really that you're trying to set people up for success, which Cami said, which was just great. But the question was, how many of the things that you're doing, your groups that you explained, your Cruise into Success, your secret promote to director, are you doing them simultaneously every month, or are you not doing them all every month?
So for us, what we found was, at least in my experience, was that I didn't have that consistency. And so when we first promoted, I wasn't developing any more new leaders because we didn't have these systems in place. We would try something, then we would take a couple months off, but we didn't have that consistency. So for us, we do run them every single month. So for example, the night we do our Cruise into Success, it's from 8 to 9. The leaders in that special group hang on from 9 to 9:30, and that's when we do their call. Since they're already on the other one anyway, we do knock it out in one night. We do the booking blitzes every week. So we continually have these running. So basically the people that were in the Cruise into Success last month, ideally they're going to go into the Promoting to Director group for the next month. And then we have like a new batch of people into the, that first initial group for the next month. So it just seems to keep us more consistent and to really just always have those opportunities available.
Yeah, which is a great thing. Here's a question from me. When you started doing this, how did it start smaller in terms of the number of people who joined? Because you were kind of rebuilding your team.
It did, yeah. So it took a lot more, reach outs and just kind of figuring out how we wanted to run this. And of course, there's been changes over time and we've, implemented things to make it better. So it did start smaller. And then now we've had to be very intentional about making sure, everybody knows about this. And we have so many people on that first call, which is so neat to see because it did start smaller and now it's just growing into all of this. And you just think about how many people you can influence and how many potential lives you can change with just helping and being there for people.
Oh, thanks, Cami. You guys are asking really good questions. And one of the ones I'm seeing frequently is, how are you doing this for your personal team, or are you doing it for anyone in your org, or how are you organizing this whole thing?
So we've always, like I said, I was very intentional about kind of having the control for those incredibly important promotion months. I wanted to make sure we were not missing anybody for training. Every single recruit, of course, mattered. And so it was very important to me to kind of have that control. But we do tend to do a lot together. So it is open up to everybody on our organization, whether that's right or wrong, but it is open to everybody because everybody's on my organization's page. And I don't want to be like, oh, only you guys are invited. So we do post everything there. And so it is open to everybody.
And I think that's great to hear because I think people can do it different ways. What you want to do is find something that works for you and your team. Related to that, is the same thing true for your one-on-one for directors? So that was another question. Is that for your first gen or is that for all directors in your organization?
So I did have to change that because when you grow help so many leaders promote, of course I wanted to be able to do that one-on-one with everybody, but I had to, time-wise and sanity-wise, I had to really make a shift to only my first gen. Now I will do their call, that very first call, when they've just promoted, and then I pass it on to their leader. So I have that very first call with them because I do want to get to know each and every one of them. And then the next month that they are going to do that, they're going to go to their director. So I do all my first gen, but beyond that, they're the ones that do their touching base.
Okay, thanks, Cami. And that's good to hear because you're going to start developing leaders because I think Cami and all of you want leaders who are having that kind of impact on their teams as well. Because at some point, you can't hold up the whole house by yourself. There's at least my theory. It gets a little tiring, probably. Can you share, Cami, just at a top level, I'm watching time, we're doing great, kind of what's the difference between topics you might have in the Promoting to Director Club versus in your Cruise into Success? Because it sounded like you said one is scheduled right after the other. Did I have that right?
Yes. Yeah, so basically the Cruise into Success is like that entry-level course for anybody. We talk about the basics on host coaching. We talk about the basics on recruiting. So each week is a different topic. And then they've done like a little replay of a training from somebody in the company. So, right before we get on that call, that's kind of like their homework as they, preview host coaching with the call they've done. And then we talk about it that night. So basically the Promoting to Director Club really just talks in detail. We look at their team and we say, okay, let's see how many shows does your team still have? If you can estimate, like, what are the sales going to be? How many more recruits do you need? So it's a much smaller group so we can really talk about, okay, how many more do you need? Where's your team at? Let's have your team recruit to help you guys. And what are some challenges you could put out to your team to get everybody active? Because you already have 3 people active, but it's coming down the end of the month and you need 2 more people active. So what are some things you can do to work with them? So it's a lot more just in detail about where they're at and what they need.
It almost sounds like it's a working session together where you're kind of looking at their team and saying, let's look at this, let's look at that, as opposed to a training, perhaps. Would that be fair to say?
Exactly.
Okay, cool. And in your new consultant training, Where do you, what do you cover? Where do you get the topic? Is there an outline? I think I saw you mention the 72-hour call, so there may be some of that in there.
Yeah, I've used this for years. Thank you, Kathy Cocazella. I got it from her and just kind of adapted it. But it's just basically, I think there's probably something on Consultants Corner similar, but just, basically getting to know them and talking about their goals and talking about, promoting to Fast Track and how, just some basics on setting up virtual parties. And then I end with that little challenge to get them working. So just, kind of the basic things. And I just kind of use that in addition to what's on Dash.
All right, here's a very interesting question. It may end up being our last one, but I think it's a really thought-provoking one. Because all of the questions so far have been great because people want to understand your systems and your processes because we want to duplicate what works. But Trina Lutsky, shout out to you. You said for the calls you're doing every week on the base that cover the basics, do you think live is best, or because it's the same information, could it be automated? And if it did, would you get the same results? What's your thought on that, Tammy?
I prefer to be live just because you get to build those relationships with those people. I just feel like, in my opinion, if they were all recorded and they had to watch them, we wouldn't get that community. We wouldn't, it's kind of an accountability, right? When they show up to the calls, and if they have to miss the call, they need to do the replay within 24 hours. That's our rule. If you're going to miss the call for work or whatever, it's done within 24 hours. And we just find that the people that are live on the calls, they're the ones that experience the most success. So for right now in our organization, the live works, even though it is time invested. Yes, I know I'm on a lot of calls and everything, but my family understands that, fortunately, and it works for us at this point.
And I love it that you said at this time, because it's not necessarily hard and fast. Something else may work later. So here is actually the best closing question. What does your day look like so that you're able to maintain the huge level of sales you have and being really an inspirational leader, not to mention 5 kids? So is it that your week has a flow, or does each day have a flow? People would love to know that.
Yeah, so the ladies here in Arizona I'm with can tell you my timers are always going off because I can't remember anything anymore after having so many kids. So they're all timed with labels. And so I know certain days of the week I have certain things that I do, like for my virtual parties, and certain things I do with my leaders, and just little reminders like that. I found, especially with the whole quarantine, it's thrown a wrench into the schedule that I had before. So it's all just about adapting. And so I don't have the traditional schedule that somebody that's like a morning person that might have, where they wake up and they get to work for a couple hours because my kids get me up early enough. And so at this point, I do more work in the evenings. I do more work during their nap time or their quiet time. I don't care what they're doing in their bedrooms in the afternoon, but they need to be in their bedrooms because that sounds work. And so just making it work for you and finding that flexibility and finding those windows of time and just having that plan for the next day of what needs to happen.
Wow. Thank you, Tammy, for sharing that. And Kathy, I think I'm turning it back to you.
Okay, thanks so much, Doreen. You're like the world's best moderator. So, Cami, I just want to thank you